if putting on the suit makes you feel more powerful, good. But you're also by choice giving the power to the suit rather than giving it back to yourself.
So if I'm your client, and I'm, I feel like I've come to this meeting with you and I'm not my most confident self, or the self that I feel like I should be walking around is, first of all, I'm shooting on myself. Maybe that's a conversation we
Definitely so. Because I would ask, well, what does should mean to you? What does confidence mean to Mercedes?
Yeah. And what the should piece of it, that's a big part as well. If I'm not showing up for what I think I'm supposed to because of my domestications and the culture I was brought up in, then I feel like I'm doing something wrong, like I am wrong, I am bad. And now I have shame and guilt and now I've spiraled down.
And I am in the world of always reminding those around me, no shame, no guilt, and no punishment.
So, and a lot of what you talk about with confidence is about being in truth with whatever truth means for you.
Honoring yourself, yes.
Yeah, and a lovely description I heard once of truth was that it always has to be inclusive, expansive, and loving.
I love that. Yes, that's beautiful.
I think that is true. It feels true to me.
It does.
Yes. But so that idea of confidence when you work with a client, let's say you're working with a man, or we can do it with you as well.
Yes, I work with men and women.
Yeah. But because a large part of our audience is men, I'm just trying to make sure we cover that as well.
I'm happy we're doing so.
Those pieces that you work on, like aligning the emotional part, the intellectual part, the spiritual part, all those pieces, how do you make that simple enough for people to understand if they're just entering this work for the very first time?
Right. I'm going to give you two separate ways that I could go about this question. First, I would just get to know them. I would say, hi, how are you? Tell me about yourself. That's important for a couple different reasons. First, I see how they feel about themselves, the way that they carry themselves in the room. I do my sessions over Zoom. So I know it seems silly to talk about the way they position their camera, but that's important. It says a lot about a person. What's their lighting? Do they want to be seen or do they not? It's something for me to take note of.
Well, that's interesting because one of the questions I had that, and I don't want to sidetrack, but I feel like this is in a similar vein of that, is like the looking how you feel or feeling how you look, or like dressing. Dressing for success is very strange because, unfortunately, the world we live in, at least in this Western culture, the United States in this case, is when I see someone wearing a suit, I'm just kind of like, it's how you're held in that suit.
Yes. It's
right? Just because you put it on doesn't really mean anything.
Oh, yes. That's the truth. Well, I want to tie this all together. So the point that the suit, if putting on the suit makes you feel more powerful, good. But you're also by choice giving the power to the suit rather than giving it back to yourself.
Well, what's interesting about that, because a 15-year-old boy can put on a Superman outfit and go walk around, but then when Superman puts on the Superman outfit, right?
There's a different
There's definitely something, because it's not the outfit, right?
It's not the outfit. It's the person who chooses to be one with the outfit.
Which is really tragic. Why superheroes have to wear the outfit? It actually kind of messes up what you're saying, right?
That is an interesting concept of like externalizing your power, right?
Yes. Well, we have so many good conversations happening here. I'm going to just play and jump and we'll just roll. Mercedes, can you please repeat what you just said?
Just about externalizing your power.
Oh, yes. I love that you bring up that point. A lot of the time I speak with my clients about, say they get really angry about something, right? They're full of rage.
Yeah.
Okay, let's honor that. Tell me about the rage. And then I can go into that we're allowed to be joyful with rage. We're allowed to love the rage. We're allowed to enjoy the rage. But first, let's simply just look at the rage. If I felt the rage because the barista at the coffee shop was texting instead of taking my order, and that made me spiral because my boyfriend at home was texting when I was making dinner and I wanted to have a conversation. All of those are little trigger points for me. The point that I am going to use the word broke into my rage because of the barista. I am giving the power to her. I want to remind us in that moment we have a choice. Okay, you feel the rage. It doesn't make it a bad thing. It just means you feel the rage. So let's honor it because you're your own teammate. You don't have to be against the rage. We don't have to be angry or disappointed or shame, guilt, and punish ourselves because we're feeling a certain way. Because when we shovel that down, we're giving the power to everybody else outside of us instead of honoring truly our body's response. So by giving the power to the barista because she was texting during my coffee, now I'm full of rage and I'm trying to justify my reaction. But if I choose to take that and I choose to say, wow, she really triggered me when she was texting. Well, what was it? What was it that really hurt me, that made me feel full of rage? Because if we focus on 5 main emotions, and this is what I work with my clients: grief, love, joy, fear, and rage. No baby pops out of the womb full of rage. Rage, I believe, is either from fear or grief, but that's first. So if the text messages, and you guys are following me so far, right?
Oh, yeah.
If the text sparks up the rage in me, then I must do the choice, do the work, make that choice to do the work and say, well, what was it in that moment? It could be, and I'll do a whole process on it. Okay, it was the texting. Why was the texting? Because texting doesn't really bother me. It was when she was texting. It was the time that she texted over being present with me. Oh, okay, I'm still angry with that. Well, what does that mean? That means I'm not being heard. If I'm not being heard, that's either going to branch off into my self-worth, because does anyone want to listen to what I'm saying anyways? Or is it that I'm disappointed with myself for not being able to hold my boundaries? And if I can't hold my boundaries and no one ever listens to me, then how am I ever going to get the respect that I'm looking for in the world? You're following that cycle. That's my choice in that moment, is where I choose to put the power. If I choose not to think about it, if I choose not to do the work, then the barista messed up my order and she's the cause on why I'm angry that morning.
Yeah, and so this conversation is really about choosing to be the victim or choosing to learn in that moment.
It's choosing to see the choice.
Well, and the reality, too, is she might be texting her grandmother that's about to die.
Oh, she so could. The point is...
way more important than you, buddy.
Well, the thing is it doesn't matter who she's texting.
Agreed, 100%.
What matters is I chose to give her the power to upset me.
She probably didn't even want it.
Well, it doesn't matter what she wanted. Like, her side of the street is her side of the street. All you can do is deal with your side.
And with that, the choice on there's no right and wrong. If I was talking to someone, I'd say, do you want to let go of the rage or do you want to keep it? If you choose to keep it, let's be angry. Let's enjoy that we gave her the power. Let's enjoy that we like sparking off like that. Maybe it excites us. I'm not asking for us to choose away from that reaation. I want to bring awareness that you have a choice.
You're inviting.
And if you proffer for the rage, or the rage is, where do you go? Where would
I go with it?
Yeah.
Well, why does it feel good? What feels good about it? Is it an emotional response? Do you like that you kind of get butterflies on your shoulders and you feel that spark of maybe you have to defend yourself?
Yeah.
Well, what do we like about that defense? Is it exciting? Is it because we feel scared that we're not going to make it? Again, we go back to those 5 emotions. So what does that spark mean? And my clients know I like slam my chest, gorilla. But I always want to remind us to take it back to our body. Our body's always speaking to us. If we call the outside world the matrix tells us that we solve problems inside these big, beautiful brains. That these big, beautiful brains are supposed to be how we lead our life. When it's truly not about these big, beautiful brains. They have their time, they have their place, they have their power, and we want to honor them. But there's also a time in relationships that it's our bodies. So when your body sparks up, it's speaking to you.
It's intelligent, yeah.
Well, and I'm guessing, too, from a practical standpoint, up till how many hundreds of years ago, warrior mentality, which is what some of this is good for,
1,010%.
was high on the scale of a positive attribute. And we still have it. And we've been schools trying to teach us not to, you got to be more cool about it or whatever. But what you're saying is that is a huge asset.
Yes.
And you just got to know how to deal with it.
It's knowing how to use it as your superpower, bringing it back to the superheroes. I actually love how we just full circled that.
Oh, that was you. That wasn't me.
But it was with the both of you. I can't exist without this kind of power. You're like, okay, Isabella, fine, I'll take it. But with that, if we, instead of imagining actually, oh gosh, this is so much more beautiful than I actually just realized. Okay, so stay with me and tell me if you lose me. At first, we talked about a superhero and a physical outfit. We a lot of the time believe that the power of understanding our emotions is supposed to look like a physical outfit, because if it's not physical, it seems impossible and like magic, out of our reach, out of our learning capabilities. Now, if we're going to look to the superhero again and realize, just like the suit, it's not about the costume, it's about the person who just adds to the costume. Then that awareness, then the self-awareness of choice is your superhero costume. Am I making sense in that?
Yeah, that choice is always the answer.
Well, yes, it's always the answer. And it's your superhero power. It's your cape. It's your cape.
And so choice is really another word for mindfulness, or other ways.
Self-awareness, yes, a million. Being in the moment.
Presence.
Again, when people aren't in the moment, that's because they're in these big, beautiful monkey minds. They're racing around the things I have to do, the things I didn't do, shoulda, coulda, woulda. They're all this hyperness, all this energy outside of themselves. They're giving the power once again outside of themselves.
Instead of bringing it to right now.
Instead of truly bringing it in their body. So bringing it back to somebody's defense, like a warrior, for instance, right? I wish I could remember the technical term. There's actually a technical term. I can give it for notes later if any audience members are curious. I'm going to call it the cookie analogy for a lack of...
I like cookies.
Oh, I love cookies.
Yeah, me too.
What kind of cookies?
When Cher makes the oatmeal...
She hasn't made me an oatmeal cookie
She
yet.
made me one. She made a couple, actually.
Then I guess that's the first person I
pretty
want to
good.
talk to after that. You and your oatmeal chocolate chip
You
cookies.
can find Cher at ilovecookies.com. No, okay.
I'd be like,
I don't know about that.
I will taste test, okay? No.
Right.
With
the cookie analogy.
Yes, the cookie analogy. Thank you, Mercedes. So the cookie analogy. As a little kid, say there's a cookie jar, right? And you really want the cookie. And you can't have the cookie. So you stomp on the ground and you say, I want the cookie. I want that cookie. And you start crying and you're stomping. And your parent walks up and says, well, you're not going to get a cookie if you act like that. Your tone, make it more pleasant. Say please and thank you. Don't stomp your feet. So they go, can I please have a cookie? And they're holding their breath and they're feeling frozen. And then the parent says, okay, that's better. Takes down the cookie jar and gives them a cookie. We're building pattern. We're building your body's response to that situation.
The body keeps the score.
Oh, the body definitely keeps score. Great book. And that's where we hold our trauma. That's where we hold our beautiful defense mechanisms that are there to protect us. They're not there to ruin your life or to make you have not a great relationship with your friends, your family, or your significant other. They're there because your body loves you and your body was doing its best to get you that cookie. So I want to give our power back to us as little kids, because we're retraining ourselves. You have to be hungry to put in the work. It's so funny because we're talking about cookies, hungry. But with that, you have to be hungry to sit there and do the work. So in the moment of, and you guys are following what I'm saying.
Totally.
Right? Okay, thank you.
We're reparenting our inner child.
We 1,010%. So it's about knowing, where do I want to go with this? There's so many different avenues. So we want to remind everyone that it's not that the stomping was bad. No, the stomping's good. The stomping in Balinese mask work activates your willpower. It's important to stomp. It is important to feel your feet on the ground and activate that response. That warrior response is important and so very healthy for our bodies. But we've been patterned to believe that the stomping's bad, that the stomping doesn't get us the cookie, that it's bad if you want to stomp. And everybody wants to stomp.
Well, you're spooling up like your jet engines before your fight. I mean, you're like getting that the turbos are starting to wind up so you can go for your race.
Well, and it's about you can still stomp, just communicate.
Yeah.
It's I need a minute and you stomp all the way out of the kitchen.
And I love that you bring up that piece of what emotion is, energy in motion. Yes. And that when we just stuff it down, we're really just storing it down.
Yeah, we're band-aiding it.
Yeah.
We're just waiting for it to explode and be like, oh my gosh, I don't know where that came from.
Yeah, that
well,
wasn't
it came
me.
from shoveling it down.
Yeah.
It came from stopping the breath and the contact, from stopping the breath and the contact.
Right.